Calculus is a branch of mathematics concerned with instantaneous rates of change and the summation of infinitely many small factors. Some of the big ideas of calculus include differentiation and integration. And with the knowledge of calculus, we can apply it to real-life scenarios. Let's paint the scene. Like always, James is playing Clash Royale in math class, a game that can be described as a real-time strategy game where the objective is to destroy your opponent's towers. The board consists of 2 princess towers with slightly less health and 1 king tower with slightly more health. Let's speed up this game a little bit. As you can see, we are playing an Expo deck, which we place on the left side, dealing a lot of damage, while the opponent pushes a golem on the other side, a very tanky troop that is hard to defeat. As we defend, we are able to take the left side tower. However, the golem is able to take the other tower, meaning that we have traded towers and are at a tie. We then place another Expo on the right side in order to do some damage to the other tower, except the opponent is able to counter this and block our shots. Now that we're at a stalemate, let's think about what we could do with the cards that we have in our hand. If we can destroy the king tower with our cards, we could win the game. A level 11 king tower has exactly 4,824 health, which means that we have to do 4,824 damage with the cards in our current hand. The Expo is a card that when placed locks onto a target and shoots arrows at a specific rate. It hits 1 time every 0.3 seconds and the card itself can stay on the field for 30 seconds in total. We also know that at level 11, each of its arrows will do 41 hit points of damage. So therefore, the rate of a level 11 Expo in damage per second would just be the rate at which the Expo fires multiplied by the damage per arrow. Instead of writing 1 over 0.3, the rate of Expo fire can be written as 10 over 3, which is multiplied by the damage. So therefore, the Expo does 410 over 3 damage per second. Now, to calculate the total damage of one level 11 Expo, we could just multiply the damage per second by 30 because it lasts for 30 seconds. But you could also represent the damage as an integral from 0 to 30, which may seem unnecessary right now, but later as we add in more factors, using an integral could make it more simple. Through integrating, we find that a level 11 Expo would do 4,100 damage, which is not enough to take out a king tower. Another card that we can factor in is the Rage spell. When used, it boosts the attack speed of troops in its radius by 35% for 5.5 seconds. To calculate the total damage of one level 11 Expo plus a Rage spell, we can take the integral from 0 to 5.5 of the rates increased by 35%, which would be the damage of the Expo with the Rage spell. After the Rage effect wears off, the Expo will shoot normally for the remainder of its lifetime, which is why we take the integral from 5.5 to 30 to represent the normal damage. Through integrating, we can calculate that the Expo will do 4,363.083 damage. However, because the timing of the Rage spell and the rate of Expo fire is not always consistent, there's actually about a 0.004% error in this calculation. When tested, the Expo with the Rage spell actually does 4,346 damage. But regardless, it is still not enough to destroy an entire king tower. Another card we could use to do more damage is the Mirror. The Mirror uses the last card you just used, increasing the card level by 1. Although the increase in card level doesn't really change the buffs from a Rage spell, it does essentially let you use 2 Rage spells in a row. To calculate the total damage of a level 11 Expo with 2 Rage spells, we take the integral from 0 to 11 instead of just 5.5. The rest of the steps are pretty much the same. However, even with 2 Rage spells, the Expo can do at most about 4,626.167 damage, with a 0.007 error because the actual damage would be around 4,592. So despite all these different scenarios, all these solutions seem to be just short of winning us the game. Okay, so it seems to be common knowledge that a single Expo, even with certain buffs, cannot destroy a king tower, but let's think about it a different way. With these 3 cards, what if we changed up the order a little bit? If we mirror the Expo, then rage it, that might be able to do more damage. Remember, using a mirror increases the level of a card by 1, which would mean that a level 12 Expo would actually be able to do more damage per hit, dealing 45 damage every arrow instead of 41. This would mean that a mirrored Expo could do 450 over 3 damage per second. With the rage spell as well, if we take the integral of the new Expo damage per second, we find that it would do 4,788.75 damage. If we factor in the error, the actual damage of a level 12 Expo with the rage spell would be 4,770, which is only 54 hit points away from winning us the game. However, there is one more crucial card in our deck, the Tornado. Although it isn't specifically used for damage, it can be used to drag enemy troops away from the range of our Expo in order for our Expo to be undisrupted. The Tornado is not usually used to do damage, but is instead used for strategic plays of moving the opponent's units. But in this case, the small 58 damage from the Tornado would just barely be enough to win us the game. Now, after that insanely fast mental math, let's see what actually happens in game. We place an Expo that is mirrored on the left side, right as your opponent places a golem. We tornado it to the other side to avoid it disrupting our Expo damage, which allows our Expo to lock on. We rage our Expo and it's able to do a ton of damage. Our opponent does not understand that we have done the math, we have done the calculus, so we know our Expo is enough. So they continue to push the other side, thinking that we won't be able to do enough damage. In these final moments, as we zoom in on our damage, we can see that this Expo is able to finish the job at its very last shot, winning us the entire game. Now, you might be thinking, it's not that deep. But guess what? With the power of calculus, one can beat Clash Royale. Thank you.